Hello, hello, hello. It's Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Success Bully is an elite accountability practice, so that makes me your personal professional butt kicker. If you are tuning in, give us 5 minutes. This is just us getting our tech lives together. And if you are watching the replay, go ahead and fast forward through the first few minutes. This is just us making sure the internet allows us to be great. Once again, it's Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Success Bully is an elite accountability practice, and that makes us your personal professional butt kickers. We're so excited to have Nancy Evans joining us for special bonus content during our challenge. So we ask your grace and space and your patience as we take this next 5 minutes just to make sure that we are streaming live, just to make sure there's no kinks in our technology so you can get the most out of this content. So we can't wait to join you in about 5 minutes. If you're watching us live, go ahead and give permission to StreamYard. Give them permission so that we can see your comments. I'd love to see who is chatting with us, who has questions in real time. So make sure you give StreamYard permission so that we can see your comments in the studio. Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Success Bully is an elite accountability practice, so that makes me your personal professional butt kicker. And if you've been following along, you know that we are wrapping up our 5 days of focus for our aspiring corporate escape artists. So we have put together a challenge to help support our side hustlers who are really thinking about scaling their side hustle so that they can comfortably submit their letter of resignation and control their own destiny and build the business they love, they deserve, and they want. So that's what we've been doing the last few days. And because we are overachievers here at Success Bully, we under promised and over delivered. So we've been doing special bonus content to make sure you have everything you need to take the plan we put in motion through the challenge. And to see it through, we brought on special guests. We brought on some of our favorite Success Bully success stories. And today I'm super excited that we have a very special guest who is going to pour into each one of us with some really awesome life experience, some really awesome lessons that we can learn from, and some strategies that we can take away from this very exciting time to really get serious about building our business. So before we get into that, I want to just take a gratitude moment and say thank you to each one of you for leaning into this process, for investing in yourself and spending this time with us, whether you watched us live or you caught up over the last few days, or you even binge watched this weekend. No judgies. No judgies. Whatever it is you decided to do with the approach to this challenge, I want to thank you for investing in yourself. Thank you for making the space to plan out what you want your 2021 to be. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank my team. There's a lot that goes into the behind the scenes to make these challenges come together. And so I want to personally thank Cece. I want to personally thank Monica. Hello, Monica. I want to thank Brandon, and I want to thank Aya for all their support in helping us bring this together. That there are a lot of moving parts and they make me look really good. So I want to personally thank my team for all of their support. And so as you're working through the challenge, if you're stuck on any of the things that we discussed, if you're having a hard time really understanding your revenue, understanding your money-making activities, or any of those things that power you forward, reach out to our team, reach out to your personal concierge. So if your first name begins with the letters A through G or O through R, Monica is your personal concierge. If your first name begins with the letters H through N or the letters S through Z, then Cece is your concierge. And you are more than welcome to reach out to them to get any questions answered or to book a special strategy session with me. We've cleared out space on my calendar so that I can accommodate answering any questions that you may have, whether it's about our upcoming coaching program or just where you are in your business. You can reach out to them or you can book a call at successbully.com/call. Now, just to brief recap, we designed this challenge so that it was formatted like a great caper. So it's more like Ocean's 11, Ocean's 13, Ocean's whatever, wherever we're at with the Ocean series. So day one, we looked at casing the joint. So that's where I asked you to really look at your revenue the last few months and really do that surveillance work so you understood where the money came from. Right? Day two, we talked about finding your mark. So what is it that you need to bring in so that you have that confidence? Because as I've been yelling on the internet the last few days, the opposite of courage, the opposite of fear is not courage, it is confidence. You only really need 45 to 60 seconds of courage to actually do something. You need the confidence to continue doing it when you don't necessarily see the results. So we wanted to know your walk away number. And I challenge you to add 30% to that. And when you're thinking about that timeline, I challenge you to add 3 months to wherever you think it is, however long you think it's going to take you to do it. I also asked you to write your letter of resignation, not to send it to anybody. Please do not email me that you quit your job before you're ready. This is more of a visualization activity for you. On day 3, we planned the caper. So we got really clear about my 4 key questions of what do you want, when do you want it by, understanding that you need to make some changes. So what are you willing to add or subtract in your life, and why it's important to you. I asked you to really think about all the activities that need to happen for you to level up. What are those actions that fall in your court? What are the steps you need to take to drive things forward? And then I asked you to shrink all that down to the first 90 days. And so I wanted you to set benchmarks for your 90 day, your 60, your 30, 2 weeks, 1 week, and then your first next move, right? On day 4, we talked about enlisting your accomplices. So making sure that you have an accountability structure in place, because it's not just the planning. Yes, we need to have a plan. We want to stick to that plan. And we understand that it takes 33 to 66 days to develop a new habit, 90 days before you see results. And so we need to stick to it through that first 90. And we also know that if you have a consistent accountability partner, that it takes, you are 95% more likely to complete a goal when you have consistent accountability, right? So why not combine all of that to make sure that you are getting it done? On day 5, we talked about getting away with it. We talked about getting away with it. So how are you planning to keep your walkaway number in front of you? How are you going to track your MMA, so those money-making activities daily? How are you going to keep all of this in motion? Because we know a track number grows. Oh, I'm out of breath and all that we've covered in the last couple days. We also talked about my KISS method to keep your business real simple. There are 3 things you need to do to keep it real simple. You got to go back and watch that one. I'm not even going to tell you. We also talked about my favorite productivity hack. So rather than a very long to-do list, having a top 6 priority list every day, so that you are not rolling a balance of unfinished activities over and over. And so, if you haven't finished all the exercises, you still have until 11:59 on Tuesday. So you have until tomorrow to get caught up on the actual challenge. And I want to encourage you, wherever you are in your business, even if you are a seasoned entrepreneur, this is a great checkup and check in, right? Pop the hood on your business and see what your revenue is telling you, what cycles you're seeing, especially since the world went topsy-turvy about 9 months ago. It's definitely important to revisit what's working, what's not working, and what you need to add. So without further ado, I do want to just thank our special guest, Nancy Evans, in advance. Thank her for carving out time in her busy schedule to join us, because this is going to be epic. There are going to be some mic drop moments here. So get your pens and papers ready. So we're going to take a little time, and we're going to really pick Nancy's brain. And I'm going to ask some very selfish questions. So you all deal with that. You have your own questions, put them in the comments. Right? So a little bit more about Nancy. Nancy is an award-winning interviewer and entrepreneur. She is one of the founders of iVillage, and she is an internet pioneer. And she is credited with introducing women to the World Wide Web. You remember back in the day? You remember back in the day? And so when iVillage IPO'd, it was the 6th largest IPO when it went public, right? She was the president and publisher of Doubleday, where she famously was Jackie O's boss. She was the editor-in-chief of Time Inc.'s Book of the Month Club. She founded Family Life magazine, which was published in partnership with Warner Media, and was nominated for a National Magazine Award in General Excellence in its first year. Nancy is award-winning, people. She's also the former co-host of The First Edition, which was a national PBS show where she interviewed authors such as Joseph Heller, Toni Morrison, and Raymond Carver. She is the recipient of the prestigious Matrix Award from Women in Communication and the Gracie Award from Women in Television. She has written 2 New York Times bestsellers, 2 New York Times, not 1, 2, How to Get Happily Published and Goodbye House, along with writing columns for Glamour, Redbook, and contributing articles to many other magazines, including the Harvard Business Review, the New York Times Book Review, and Harper's Magazine. She's appeared on The Today Show, GMA, and 60 Minutes. She's also an investor in several startups. She's consulted with ABC, Unilever, and Verizon. She is also passionate about supporting women in business and helping them scale their business. And she is an expert when it comes to reaching the women's market and starting up building companies, including product development, marketing, and growth strategy. So if you have growth related questions, now's the time to put it in the comments, y'all. Nancy's latest adventure is the Confab Podcast, because they believe that nothing beats hearing real women talk about their real world experience, especially when it comes to getting their businesses off the ground. Their journeys are filled with inspiring stories, challenges, and roadblocks, and it's meant to share so others can learn. So we've talked about this several times in the last couple days about skipping the line. skipping the line, that we do not have to reinvent the wheel. We do not have to like bump our heads up. We don't have to beat our heads up against the brick wall, whatever that expression is. You don't have to bump your head every step of the way. That there are communities out here to support you. And the Confab podcast is one of those communities where you can get that learning, where you don't have to experience it the hard way yourself. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the illustrious, the legend, the myth, Nancy Evans. Hello, Nancy.
Hey, Rita. I love the phrase "skipping the line." Yes.
It's so true. Like, you don't have to figure it out on your own. You don't have to do that. Well, like, and I tell my clients this, like, yeah, I'm sure you're smart enough to figure it out by yourself.
But
I'm sure you're smart. Why? Why waste all that time?
And you can go faster, right?
Faster. You save time and you save money. Actually.
Like, that's a win-win. Absolutely.
It's a win-win. So you've had a fascinating and inspiring career.
Yeah.
So tell us about like your experience in founding iVillage, among all the other things. To like, how has your corporate career shaped you as an entrepreneur?
Well, since your challenge is with corporate women who want to get out, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the good news of being a corporate woman is you really do learn a lot of business skills that will come in really useful when you have a startup. There's things you're going to know that someone else wouldn't. So that's a real plus. The biggest thing, starting iVillage, because it was done back in cave days. I mean, that was 1995. So when we went out to raise money to start iVillage, we had $2 million from AOL, which was the only player then, really.
Right.
You dial up on a phone. Okay.
Floppy disk.
Yeah. So they knew that there was a bigger consumer play, but they didn't really know how to do it. So income, my partner and I, and we go out to raise a gazillion more dollars. But every time we went into a venture capital room, which would almost always be men, white men, and we would say, okay, so here's the deal. There's nothing on the web for women, and 11% of the people online right now are women, so they're not really there. But if there was something for them, they would come. And in fact, women rule media, so why wouldn't they rule this one too? They would look at us and go, yeah, well, my wife doesn't even have a computer. Like, why would she go on the web? I mean, it wasn't a slam dunk.
Right.
And that is when, Keita, your voice, the way you speak. Okay, I would just lean into the table and go, exactly. Women aren't there. That is the opportunity. That is why we're going to create the place. And we just would keep repeating until we would make them believe. That thing about visualizing, I could see what we were going to do. I could totally see it. And we actually did a prototype that really helped, because people need to visualize, and you need to get that vision across to the people that you're trying to bring into your mission, right? So I used to go to bed at night, wake up in the morning, just totally visualizing this place.
Yeah. Oh, let's talk more about this vision piece.
Okay, vision. But can I also say,
yes,
voice? Because you, of course, and all your worldwide students know, you are you can scream, you can, have forceful talk, learning to speak. I mean, not going up. A lot of women go up at the end.
The upward tonation. So it sounds like a question.
Yeah, that question. Like, get rid of that. Practice with your friends until you can say things with real conviction. And if you're necessary, bring your voice down. I mean, really practice the voice.
Oh,
I'm bringing that up because your voice is so powerful, and it's a big part of your Keita thing,
Well, like, I do practice. And I will say that, prior to being a book kicker, I was in public relations for about 15 years. And like, that was a drill we would run with our executives, was watch that upward tonation. If you want to come across as believable,
Yep.
If you want to come across like you know what you're talking about, no upward tonation.
No. None. You have all the answers. And if you don't have the answers, you go, I don't know the answer to that one, but I'll
get back to you. Or you go, good question.
Yeah.
Just buy yourself some time.
Right, right,
So I want to talk
right.
a little bit about that vision part, because I
Yeah.
think that, like, especially in this community where we're in motion and we're building something bigger than ourselves, like, how do you keep that vision front and center when you can't when the results aren't there just yet? How do you hold tight to that vision?
I think it's that passion.
Mhm.
You call it, I think, the why. When you have a why that is so embedded in you, you really do picture this thing that doesn't exist, which to me is so much the fun of creating businesses, that it doesn't exist, it's not there, and you start laying the foundation in your head, and then you start seeing the scaffolding, and then you you build it until you can see it, and then that visualization is what you bring out to everyone else to create the company, the brand, whatever you're working on. I just think it's the most fun thing in the world to have that ability to visualize something instead of like dream. You know how like I never did, but
Mhm.
when girls were growing up, supposedly they dreamed about getting married. I kind of didn't
I
have
didn't have
that.
that. I didn't have that one.
I didn't have that one either.
I didn't have
So
that one.
I didn't have that. I never had that when I was growing up. But whatever, when you dream of things, skip the dream part. This is more with more intent.
Mm,
This
mm.
has meaning. This has an end goal. Like you're going to do this. That's how why you can visualize it so clearly, because it isn't a dream. Like it's going to happen,
It's a
right?
reality,
It is.
right? I
Uh-huh.
I love that idea of, like, it's the foundation, the scaffolding, and you're building something.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Yeah.
when you're first getting started, when I got started 4 years ago, I said it as a joke. What I thought it was going to be 4 years ago, I thought it was gonna be this cute little thing, and I had no intention of quitting my job. It's gonna be this cute little thing, and my vision has stretched. As, I've gotten more confident and we get more wins, my vision has stretched where like, I am building a global coaching brand. I
No,
want to own the space around goal setting and
Cheetah
accountability.
is into world domination. No, I used to go up and down the halls, whatever I was creating, and going, world domination, everybody. And the other thing is to be the last one standing, because there's going to be
Mm,
days when business is not so good. And you're thinking, why am I doing this? And
yes.
maybe I should pack it in. And those are the days you think, okay, if we can just stay standing, we could win this game, but we have to stay standing. You can't fold.
Okay, everyone, stay standing. Okay, I need to keep my mascara on. So I didn't wear waterproof mascara, but that's the truth. There are days where you're like, what in the whole hell?
Uh-huh. That is where, I mean, I've done almost everything I've done with partners.
Mhm.
And the best news of partners is on the day when you're down, you're really kind of hoping your partner is up, or
Right, right.
like get it together, suck it up. I
Someone
mean,
to pull the other off the ledge.
yeah, really.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so when we think about when you were kind of assessing your next moves, what was like your rubric? Because you've had like you've been on the interviewer side of things. You've been on the producing media side of the things, and now you're producing another bit of media. Like, at what point did you decide, or how did you decide to make your next move? What was usually like? Did you have an internal checklist? How did you decide?
Well, I'll give you two answers. One was I did life planning, which is sort of like what you do with your workbooks. I mean, I've done it since my early 20s. I was in
Mm,
graduate school getting a doctorate in English literature at
I love
Columbia.
it. I
And
love it.
one day I went, I don't think this is what I want to do. So I began keeping fill in the blank forms about what did I really want to do with my life. And
Ooh.
and I then did action steps. And I did that almost every year of my life. So, and I did it with friends. Then I would bring friends in and we would do it together. But that kept me honest about where I wanted to go next. Now, saying that, the second part of this is that doesn't get me to where I want to go, because
Mhm,
basically I'm shy and not confident. I mean, I am confident, but I'm shy.
mhm.
So, what really helps is getting fired. I mean, I got fired,
Okay,
you
yeah,
know, yeah,
been there.
okay. Well, getting fired and then needing to make money. I think that is a really good motivator. So, you kind of sit there and go, okay, I can, what can I do?
Mhm.
What can I make up? And so I think that is one great way to get going. And the third one is when your friends say to you, you don't seem so happy.
Ooh.
When someone, like when your good friends observe you don't seem happy, you're kind of, that's something to listen to, because that
Ooh.
usually means to me that it's time to go. It's time to change.
Oh, that powerful. I do think like the getting fired, sometimes the choice is made for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's made for you.
I'm not recommending this to anyone, but
Yes,
boy,
don't get fired, but it'll happen.
yeah, it really moves you along.
Well, I even think with what we're seeing in
Can I
like
say one last thing about
yes.
particularly with the women you got, is another thing is when you start feeling, I am making so much money for this company.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't keep any of it, or I keep, they pay me, but I am not getting nearly out of this what I'm putting in. And I find that's a real motivator. Like,
oh yes,
okay, I can make this happen and I will get more of this
when
money.
you drive millions of dollars for someone else and you're like, hey, I didn't take home millions of dollars. Something about this math isn't correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different kind of capitalism.
Right? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So now let's talk about creating online communities, because this is my selfish question.
Yeah.
As an early pioneer in the what would now be considered community, right? You successfully built one of the largest communities for women on the internet. And now that the landscape has changed so dramatically with social media and all the thing and high-speed internet and da, how would you, if you had to start today, what are your tips to build an engaged community now with all the tools that are available?
Well, one thing is to what I call prime the pump. Ooh. Sometimes people, I've interviewed some people even where they've started a company and they've got a website and they say that community is part of their mojo. And I go to look at their community and like, there's no one there, or there's like 3 people in there. Not a good vibe. So one of the things that we always did was we were in there. Like everybody who worked at the company was, whether it was a message board, a chat room, or now, signing up for Instagram, that to have every single person, have your fan base, your friend base, sign up and be there for you. And you can, like in bully fashion, tell them you have got to show up. So that at least has someone in the room, which is a very understandable thing. Like when you give a party, that tip that you shouldn't have an empty room. You should have somebody in the room. So it feels like, hey, there's people here. So that is the first thing. Second thing is, men do not do very well, is to listen. Listen to what they're saying, listen to the comments, listen to where they're moving, and follow that, and then bring it back and bring it back out to them. That listening is the key part, and it's done very rarely.
I love it. I love it. So Cece and Monica, we're priming the pump. And then we're gonna listen, y'all. We're gonna listen. Get ready.
Get ready. And they're gonna have to stay up 24/7.
Yeah, like sorry guys, sorry. We're nobody's sleeping. Nobody's sleeping. Well, like I think that is simple but hard to do, in the sense of that, like we get in our little I call it my focus hole, where I'm like, we're doing this, and when really I should be listening to what people actually want rather than what I think they want.
It's sort of like, it's not even sort of, it's consumer research. To listen, you should put aside, I used to put aside an hour a day.
Okay.
To go in and listen to we had literally, tens of millions of women, and go in there and listen. So I made it part of my day, because once you really start growing your company, you forget sometimes the reason you're in it to begin with, which is your audience, your market. So I made it standard operating procedure that I always spent an hour a day in there.
Oh, I love Nancy. You already like we're not even what like 5, 10 minutes into this, and you already like blew my head open like 5 times. Now, everyone, get ready.
Yeah.
You've been warned. You've been warned. I'm going to put everything Nancy says into action. Get ready. So now let's talk about the confab. So like, why did you initially start it? What sparked it? The idea to start this podcast?
Well, a couple of things. One is there's these things in New York City, and I'm sure they have them in LA and everywhere. Women's lunches where, someone's made the woman of the year and you get awards, that kind of stuff. Well, at those things, particularly this one event that I would go to every year called the Matrix Award, and Oprah'd be there and Martha's there. And I mean, like all the bold-faced
I love that you're on like first name basis.
Okay, they're all there.
By the way.
No, but they're all there. Martha's asleep, but anyway, they're all there. Yeah, she's using her time well. So women at these events would get up on the stage to get their award, and then they would tell like the real truth about their lives, their story. And only this audience who was there got to hear these incredible, sometimes you'd be crying, sometimes you'd be laughing. And I kept thinking, more people should hear these freaking stories, because you just come out going, I can do this. If she could do it, I can do it. That was the mojo. So I wanted to share more of that with the world, like get it out of the inner sanctum. And then number two, the truth is my daughter and a friend of mine called Valerie Wasserman, who I work with at iVillage.
My favorite people.
Okay. And she was at my startup when I started a magazine. She's been with me on everything. They said, come on, let's do something with this. So that is the other lever, is friends.
I love it. And I think it's really interesting. I love the concept that it's real stories. Because like sometimes this is messy.
Also wonderful to hear like someone really successful going like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I didn't have a clue, and I was winging it, and then I screwed up, but then I, stayed up all night reading a book or, went online. It's just really good to know that we're all just making it up, but making it up with an end goal and also having fun. I think having fun really undervalued. I mean,
yes. Yes.
I mean, given that you never sleep and you stop eating, I mean, really doing a startup, and particularly when you're also have a real job, I mean, you got to have a sense of humor, because, it's a long day.
Yeah, we have a running joke during this challenge that we have to like we used to do the challenge at 3 p.m. We moved it up to 1 p.m. and all this back and forth. That I could not get it together to be in hair and makeup. And I'm like, guys, I might have to do this one in my pajamas today. But the behind the scenes can look like that. It's not always sexy. I think that the idea of that you can fail and come back.
Totally.
That failure is not final. It is part of the process.
Diane von Furstenberg, who makes dresses and
DVF wrap dress. Yes.
Okay. Well, at one point I'm I'm doing Family Life magazine, and I did in a partnership with, Jan Wenner, Rolling Stone.
I love that.
And so I have these offices and a bunch of people there, and Diane von Furstenberg comes in, and she is trying to raise money to revive her wrap dress company.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to Jan Wenner, she goes to Barry Diller, she's going around town, and she is being turned down. Like everyone's going, oh, that wrap dress, that is so over. I mean, she first did it in the 70s or something.
Right.
No one would give her money.
Iconic now.
And she just kept going until someone said yes. Boy, do I love that. I mean, that's the other part of life. Like, right? All the people go, oh, no. And you just have to keep going till you find the person who says yes.
Most of the time, you just need one yes.
Yeah.
Right? You just get the nose out of the way.
Seeing a famous person like that going through what like we normal folk would
And
do.
she was already famous at the time and still was getting those.
I know. Yeah, that was a big moment.
We have a very special question. So this is from Monica, and Monica is on the Success Bully team. So she's a very specific question for you. So I want to make sure we answer this one. Do you have any tips for how to communicate your vision to your audience? Ooh, Monica, that's a good one. We got to get connected to Monica too. She's amazing.
Absolutely. Let's see. I think practice.
Okay.
That sounds so silly, but the more you talk about your vision, when you see people nod their heads when you're talking about something, every time you see them nod their head, note that. And when you get home, write down that comment. You get a turn of the phrase that works. Then when you're talking and people aren't nodding their heads, they're kind of just not so interested.
Down a little bit. Yeah.
It's not working. So keep picking up on when people nod their heads. That's how we used to do sales pitches. We used to do decks, going out to raise money based on the head nod. Really.
Okay, everyone. There are so many Minecraft moments here. If you do not have a notebook in front of you right now, that's your loss. You're gonna have to go back and watch this again. But yeah, the head nod, and I'm a little bobblehead. I'm like nodding everything you say. So I'm not a good example of this because I'm a bobbler. So, but yes, that's so true. And even the practice, like I still find that I rehearse quite a bit. Yeah. I because that gives me confidence, because I can't control the Q&A. I can't necessarily control what happens in the room. I can control showing up as the most confident version of myself, and that is through practice.
Well, and prep.
Boom! You used my prep doc!
I did. Okay, everyone, this is the Keita cheat sheet that she sends to her guests. Okay, and I prepped. Some people might just go, hey, I'm, quick going on. But
some people don't even open the document.
I know. But for one thing, respect to the host, but also respect to yourself. And preparation. How could you not be prepared? And that is one thing from the interviewing I used to do was I really prepared. And particularly with the famous writers I interviewed, they said, you're the first person who ever really read my books, because a lot of times they go on the Today Show or whatever, and they go, they hadn't read the book, the interviewer. Well, they couldn't.
It's obvious, yeah.
Obvious, it's kind of, but they know when you've prepared.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Monica, did that answer your question? Yes. Head bobs, preparation.
Oh, humor.
And humor.
Can we talk about humor?
Let's talk about it.
I think humor is just in presentations. I mean, it's certainly something Keita uses, folks. Connects you because, people are kind of looking at you and trying to suss you out and they're making judgments. And I just find that if you say something funny, that even the person who's like really looking at you, like, if they laugh, it kind of takes that away. And now now they're really listening. Yeah.
I love it. Nancy, you're like blowing my whole head open. So then what do you hope, now coming back to the confab, what do you hope that listeners get out of it? Where do you want to see it go? Where do you want to take it?
I'm really hoping that I'd like to have our show be compared to on NPR, there's a show called Fresh Air with Terry Gross. That's almost an establishment now. And she just does these thoughtful, meaningful conversations. And I'd like to think that we're doing similar work over in, our vertical. And so that's one. Second is the overarching name of our company is the Women's Wisdom Project. And that comes from, there's an oral history project at Columbia that's gone on for decades where they collect stories from people who mattered. And I thought, friggin', there's so many women who have done things that matter, whose names we don't know, whose names we may never know, but they should be recorded. And so that's another really driving force. And that's one of the reasons we tell the stories of historical women. Before the Madam Walker story got out there on television, we interviewed her great-granddaughter to tell the Madam Walker story, who, by the way, didn't practice self-care and was running all over the country, building her business, and friggin' died. Boom. Because she was sick and just kept going. So self-care. Girls, but to tell those stories so that there's no woman out there who's got a dream who doesn't think, okay, I can do it. If they could do it, I can do it. I want more women to say they can do it, because honestly, if there were more women running businesses, running the world, it would be a much better place. So that's what I want to do.
Awesome. So then how are you approaching this daily? How are you making this part of you? Because, I'm all about the habit formation and the goal setting and the accountability. So how are you making this part of your day-to-day life?
I changed my methods, particularly now with the pandemic, I've changed it. But right now I work with a quadrant on a big piece of paper, and it's got my Confab deliverables in one of the quadrants. And then I got a quadrant that's like, personal stuff and exercise. But I put it and I work on it at night before I go to bed, and I do a revision when I wake up.
I love it. I love it. Quadrant. So then, so what are in the other two boxes? So you have like your personal.
One quadrant is calls, emails.
Okay.
Okay, because I try not to do email during the day. I do it first thing in the morning and at night because it messes up my day. And then the other quadrant is like house, like I'm a caretaker, like fix the washing machine, it's house stuff.
I love it. So a quadrant, real simple quadrant, but I also love that we're mission aligned about email. I tend to do email twice a day, where like I have my outbound, I have a block of time for outbound communication, and then I have a block of time where I answer and go through things. So
I think that's essential.
Yeah, otherwise you'll be responding, you'll be reacting to email all day rather than being impactful. I love it. 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 So now, like, of course, coaching's what I do. What I do all day. So then, at what point do you recommend like women seek out coaching, like whether they're in their corporate career or if they're scaling their big business that's going to take their global domination? When do you recommend they seek out coaching?
When they're stuck, which happens to a lot of startups. There's a moment when they're about to get to a bigger level and they're scared because that's going to take more money. It's going to take more people. It's scary. That's a good coaching moment, a real teachable moment, getting it off the ground to begin with. When you got, you've done your research, you got your, you're ready to do the proposal, your business plan, and you're stuck. At any point when you're stuck, which usually has to do with either you don't have information, you need more information, you need to gather it, or it's back to confidence, that you don't have the confidence. Like, I don't know how to do this. So then you go to you for coaching, or you come to Confab Podcast and, we'll get your mojo.
You do both.
Yeah.
We'll get you on track. We'll get you on track.
So really get the line.
I'm really loving this. Everyone's so interactive. We got another question. Okay. So this is also from Monica. I love it, Monica. I love it. Tell us about your experience with book publishing. So when you are an established publisher, so what has been your experiences, and what is your for our audience that is looking to write their first book, what are your recommendations there?
It's just like doing a business plan, to write a book proposal. But here's the way to do it, which is also true for a business plan, by the way. Write your idea down like you're writing a letter to a friend. Ooh. So Kita, by the way, who I've told, it's time for her to do her book.
It's time, y'all. I'm ready to write.
Kita you would sit down and you would describe, okay, this is why I was put on this earth. This is what I'm doing. here's what I'm going to say in this book. You would also then throw in, here are books out there, your competitive set. Here are books out there that are like mine, that are all, like major bestsellers, that I will fall into that vertical. Okay. So you need to give a sense of your kind of book, and then write a sample chapter or two to show that you can write. And if you can't write, but you've got a really good idea, then you want to get yourself a partner, a writing partner.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So Monica, did that answer the question?
Oh, can I tell you one last thing? Oh,
yes.
Then you've got to do the connecting exercise. So then, okay, let's say you got this little package together. Where do you send it? So that's where all that time while you're thinking about your book, be alert to all the books that are your kind of book, and look at the acknowledgments. In the acknowledgments, they always thank their editor. They thank their agent. Okay, data, write it down. So by the time you've got this thing together, you know some names of people you don't really know, but now you do know them enough to be able to send in your book proposal. Matching exercise.
I love matching exercise. Get ready. Okay, this is so interactive. We got like 2 other questions. Okay, hold on. Here's another question. What do you do when you're depleted? And then how do you avoid it happening again?
Oh, depleted. Well, I was getting depleted because I couldn't work out, at a gym, because the gym's close. When I feel depleted, I need to go out. I need to, I don't run, but I go hiking. I need to go out. For me, touching nature, seeing sun, trees, that kind of touches me. I also get a lot of ideas when I'm walking.
Okay.
When I'm driving, I get ideas, so I drive. And short of that, I go take a really, really hot shower. And come out of it and go, okay, let's start over.
Ready. Let's try it again.
Oh, and I get dressed. I get dressed, which makes me feel like, oh, I'm somebody. You know what I mean?
You mean like my party frock today?
Yeah. I used to do it when I have exams in college. I would get dressed and actually do some kind of makeup situation to make me feel like, okay, I can handle this.
I'm here, everyone. I'm here. Very good. Awesome. And that question was from Jennifer. We have a question from Cece, the lovely Cece. Your background is really impressive and full of so many different positions. How do you know the next thing is the right thing to go for? So Cece is a recent college grad and is trying to figure out that next thing for her.
Yeah. I think that's a hard one. I think it takes, do you know this book called What Color is Your Parachute, which has been like a bestseller for decades? And it's a book where you try to figure out what it is you want to do. And I really would use fill in the blank things like that to help me figure it out. And then if I had 2 job offers, I would do, again, now this would be a half a page, I would make a line down the middle and I would do pros and cons of each job.
You do a T-chart.
Yeah. And I would try to kind of figure it out that way. I would always be using whatever tools came in a book or that I knew from a friend to chart the next thing. I always asked, will this opportunity ever come again?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That was my baseline, because some things just won't be there again.
Will this opportunity come again? I love it. Okay, so ruling your time. This is something this is a whole concept that we love, rather than time management, because that implies it has a choice. We like to rule our times. Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, management's kind of this. It's mean. It's like
yes. So then, how do you protect your time?
Well, don't do email during the day, which gets a lot of people ticked off. Like, where were you? What were you doing? And I was I'm working, I'm thinking, I'm doing things. So I don't do the email. I protect it. I protect it by planning it. I really have a planned day, which comes from years of, having every 15 minutes, meeting.
Right.
So that habit is still there. So I'm not running around every 15 minutes, but I really do block out my day based on that list that I did the evening before, which has the priorities. Yeah. And then if I don't finish them, that goes over onto the endless list from which I pick the next day's things. But I'm very, very conscious. Oh, can I tell you something I just did the other day? Speaking of time, I marked the whole day, like 7 minutes, to make oatmeal. It took me over an hour to read the New York Times, like the good old fashioned paper New York Times. It took me a half hour. I was going, what was I doing in there? Like to wash my face and, do that kind of stuff. I did every single thing. Some things were 3 minutes. I wanted to see what I was doing with my time. And then I wanted to see where I was most kind of in the zone. And also when I got itchy, which is around 1:13 in the afternoon. So I just wanted to kind of get a grip on my relationship, with time. I think that's a really good exercise to do.
Relationship with time. I love. Well, that's the thing. Like and we talked about this about being a peak performer. When are you at your best? Do the heavy lifting when you're in your peak, when you're in your zone, rather than trying to force yourself to do it when you're not in the zone. Okay, so this is one of my favorite questions to ask all of our guests. And that is around the double-edged sword of being brilliant. Everyone in this community is brilliant. You're brilliant. But the double-edged sword of being brilliant is that you never run out of ideas. And you can overthink everything and overcomplicate things because you have such a brilliant mind. So then what are your tips for kind of narrowing that focus and harnessing that brilliance?
Wow. Okay. That's such a good question, and I have an answer. Yes, overthinking. And also trying to make everything as brilliant as I could make things. I finally have a mantra, which I learned a while ago, and it's really useful. And I go, it's good enough.
Ooh.
It's good enough. Good enough means you really worked on it. You perfected it. Friggin' may not be perfect, because perfect might be another couple of days. It may be weeks, maybe years.
Might be a couple months, right?
But good enough. It's good enough, and get it out, share it with the world.
All right, you heard it here. It's good enough. Get it out there, share it with the world, share it with the world. So now I'm curious, this is another one of those things that I have to ask all of my guests, because leaders are readers, and with your publishing background, what are you currently reading? What's on your nightstand?
Okay, I just finished a novel called Hamnet, which is the name of the real Shakespeare's son, who died and then who inspired the writing of Hamlet. So a friend gave that to me and knew I would love it, and I did. And then you are going to love this because you are one.
Oh, hey, boss lady.
Okay, boss lady. And the reason I'm reading this is there's a woman named Margaret Rudkin. Have you ever heard of Pepperidge Farm?
Yeah,
Farm. Okay, like cookies,
with
bread.
The Milanos. Yes, they're still delicious.
Okay. Yep. Okay, she was a housewife in the town I grew up in, but she, way before my time. But a housewife, she probably wore Ferragamo shoes, whatever. She created Pepperidge Farm. She started by making a loaf of bread because one of her kids was sick, trying to make him better. And then she got good response. She brought it down to the local food store. People started buying it. Then she happened to have a husband who was connected, with money people, but still, that was her opportunity. She created Pepperidge Farm, turned it into a major company. She started, this is like in the 40s, like women were not doing that. Sold it to Campbell's Soup, was the first woman on the board of the Campbell's Soup Company, then goes up to Harvard Business School, when Harvard Business School was still all men. Goes up there, this prim and proper, Connecticut woman, and goes, if you young men are surprised that a woman like me is here, or a person like me is here, I'm more surprised than you are that I'm here. And then she proceeded to just give this fabulous talk in which she said, you guys know all this, all this fancy matrix and metric stuff, but I know what people want and how to build a company because I did it.
Yes. I love it. I
So,
love it. I
so
love it. I
we're
love it.
going to bring on the author of this book to talk about this woman from the past who just went ahead and did something huge.
I can't wait for that episode. Okay, so then final thoughts, final thoughts. So what is your advice for our community of goal getters, badass female founders? What's the final thoughts you want to leave them with?
Surround yourself with the people who say yes and move aside the people who say no. Or who look
Ooh.
at you like, are you sure?
Is that what you want to do?
Are
Oh
you
my
sure you
goodness.
want to do that? Like maybe my mother would say something like, move those people aside and bring in your tribe, who says yes.
Oh, that is powerful, Nancy. Oh, yes. Bring in the people that say yes. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Thank you for pouring into each one of us. I'm inspired, and you gave me some nuggets that I needed today. So I want to thank you
Yay.
personally. Thank you for making time. I know it's late in New York, so we appreciate you so much, and we can't wait to see how you build the confab. We can't wait to continue to support, and we're just excited to be in be in your orbit.
No,
We're circling around.
we're lucky to be out there, all of us right now. This
Yes.
is a wonderful time. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So stay tuned, y'all. I'm writing a book. Nancy said so it's happening.
She's going to do it. Accountable.
We're gonna do it. It's being held accountable here. So Nancy, I'm gonna let you go. Hold on to the line, and I'm just gonna do that land the plane thing, and then I'll rejoin you. Hold on.
Okay.
So again, this was a powerful live show. So if you are tuning into the replay, please, if you have additional questions, go ahead and chat us. We'll follow up with Nancy. We'll make sure that all your questions are answered. So again, I want to remind you all that we have just flung the doors open. We have flung the doors open to the Exit Strategy Academy, and that is our year-long group coaching program for our side hustlers to help you scale your side hustle so you can get into a community of people that say yes. This is a community of people that say yes. So if there are questions you have about this upcoming group coaching, again, it's a year-long commitment. There's weekly calls with me. You have an accountability advisor. We help you with your strategic planning. We'll help you break it down into steps. We will hold you accountable. We have quarterly hot seats to make sure that we're popping the hood on your business and making those course corrections so that you can go far and fast. All right? So if you need more information on the Exit Strategy Academy, you are more than welcome to book a call with me at successbully.com/call or reach out to your personal concierges for support. Again, if your first name begins with the letters A through G or O through R, Monica is your concierge. If your first name begins with the letters H through N or S through Z, CC is your concierge. And we are here to serve. We are here to support. We want to make sure you have everything you need to be successful. So once again, I'm Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Let's get after it.